Alright, so today we are talking about range immortals. We're going to approach this the same way we've approached all the other ones so far. We're going to talk about the immortals as their base value, not how they work off of a team necessarily, and not off their unique artifacts. The unique artifacts will get their own segment towards the end. And jumping into it, we're going to start with Yoshi. Yoshi, I put in C tier. He has some value in single target to just have as a boss killer, a spider killer, but for PvP, he is a little bit lackluster. He tends to not do what you need him to do. He targets three random opponents, which can all go into the same opponent or into various ones. So if he hits that crucial backline carry, that Himiko, he can actually cause a fight to be one that would otherwise be lost. But then you'll have other times where he throws three into Charles and does nothing. So if he's going to try to be your team's carry, you're just better off putting another carry in there because the tower skills are going to be the same on whoever you put him on for that range carry slot. Going on to Ashoka, he's kind of in the same boat, except for he hits two targets. It's guaranteed who it is. So you can at least have some control over it because you can make sure you hit the backliner you want to. Problem is, it just doesn't hit hard enough for him to really carry that fight in any meaningful way. He is really the support damage dealer of the team. Like he's the secondary damage dealer of the team when you put him in, and they're just better secondary damage dealers that bring more to a team. One of them being Sundok. She is the newest fire range immortal, and she does insane damage. It doesn't matter, single target, AoE for PvP. She's great for both of them. She does a lot of damage. The issue I have with her that keeps her out of S tier, and it's just a small issue. The issue I have with her is her ability hits one target, and then for the next 6 seconds, it causes an explosion anytime an enemy receives a crit. Now, that means 2 normal attacks for her. So the only way she's getting this crit damage that's boosting that up is by her allies, her Tower of Knowledge skills. So she needs to have people around her that crit a lot, that hit all these targets. And fire, you start looking at Trajan, William. Hippolyta is your best bet for that because she hit 7 times with her unique artifact, 5 without it. So all these other people that you slot into the team with her just don't unlock her true potential. She does really well. She's a great carry, but her true potential is with all these multi-hitters, the Gilgameshes, the Saladins, the Hannibals, the Alexes that just hit a lot of times and get that raw number up there for crits. So you end up in a situation where she has too many things she needs and not enough people to facilitate it to hit her true potential. She's great. She could be just a little bit better with a third slot in the march, kind of a third slot in the frontline march, or a fifth slot total in the march, kind of thing. But just a small issue. Atalanta is the range immortal for the win team. She enters a stance. She reduces attack speed, but gains normal attack damage. And then every normal attack has 100% chance at max level to pierce the target and hit damage the backliner. She's dropping in B. I haven't seen a lot of her, and the issue she has is she's a normal attack damage champion. That's where she wants to focus her damage, is that normal attack and piercing. But she loses her attack speed. On top of that, once she goes in the stance, if the target she's targeting dies, she can't move. She's rooted in place, like physically, so she can't reach any of the other targets with her attack range. So if a target dies as she's going into it, she can spend a lot of time stuck in that spot and not able to do anything. When she's good, she's really good. When she's bad, she's not good at all. There's a big gap between her top end and her low end, from the little bit I've seen of her so far. So for that, she's just gonna sit in that middle of the pack tier for the range immortals. YSG is gonna drop in at C tier just because his ability isn't great damage. He hits the enemies. He hits 2 enemies. He does decent damage. It's not a lot. The multiplier is good, but he doesn't do a lot of skill damage when you look at reports of him. And then he takes their magic attack, physical attack, magic defense, and physical defense and gives them to himself. So he siphons off the stats for 10 seconds. So that helps the rest of your team do more damage. It helps him hit harder for any abilities you do stack on him. So he has some times where he can do a lot of damage via skills from his ability. But standalone, he's not something that you're looking at flexing into a team to be your carry. He's not looking at running as your primary carry lightning. That would be your Genghis Khan. GK, I bounce between S and A tier. I think for now I'm going to drop him in S tier, but it's back and forth because he's great. He does a lot of damage. He wounds the enemy team so he can't heal. That helps counter those holy teams with their Theos, the earth teams with their Zenobias, water and their water dragon. He counters all this healing. The problem is right now when you start looking at the top end of the game, a lot of teams are starting to get that purification skill that cleanses the wound debuff so they can still keep healing. So when you start looking at the top end and what people can do, people can start to counter him a little bit with purification. Granted, that purification is only one target at a time. That does, to me, drop his value a little bit. He's still great, and he bounces between that low S, high A tier for me because of that. Arash, I tend to put in B tier because he targets 3 times. One is a shield break, one is a defense break, and one is a big nuke at the end. The issue I have with him is his targeting is random, so it can do very little overall if you hit 3 different targets with that and the last one happens to be their physical damage tank. When we get to the unique artifacts, we will talk about him because he can be really good with unique artifacts. Liz is one I struggle between S and A tier because if you look at every element other than Shadow, she's S tier. She can maybe not Holy, but at any of the base elements, she is a great damage option. She's also a great supportive option, honestly. As much as I hate that build, she can fit into any team comp in one way or another. So in that aspect, she's an S. But when you start looking at her in Shadow or in Holy, the premium marches that she can fit in, like that she's so like Shadow, she's supposed to be in, she just doesn't hold the damage to that team. She doesn't hold the utility for that team really, even though she has that stun. It's not you're not putting the damage skills on her to cycle her fast enough to get that. So for her own element, she drops down to A or maybe B tier. But when you look at everything else, she's between S and A. So I think I'm going to drop her as rank 1 S or rank 1 A tier. Gilgamesh being the last real immortal we have right now, and I'm also dropping him in A tier. His damage is fine, and when he's in Holy, his damage is insane. When you start looking at flexing him out, it drops a little bit. He's a consistent, hits everyone, burns them down over time. Good carry. But his unique artifact is what really makes him insane. This is the new water immortal. Margaret. She looks very interesting. We haven't seen her. She's only going to be out after this Conquest Season 2 is out for SVS. My gut instinct is high B tier or low A tier. She hits 3 targets. She hits in a fan like Attila does. She plays off of silences. She plays off of enemies having the shield debuff, so she works really well with Attila and with Ditto. So she has, and her damage is not anything to scoff at from the numbers. So she should be up in this area where she could be a main physical damage carry for those teams. But until we see it, we don't leave it untested. So this is my just generic what the Immortals are to me. And when you start looking at unique artifacts, this is how it changes. Gilga's artifact makes the enemy team do less damage because he hits everyone unless they dodge. That is big. He's doing a lot of damage and he's essentially disarming the enemy team. And the other big one that changes is Arash. He gets to only target backline at that point. So once he starts targeting only backline, that means you know he's hitting a carry. He's doing a damage break. He's hitting one of them at least twice, which means there's a good chance you end up with that damage break or defense break and then that big damage nuke at the end on the same target. And then once you start pairing him with, like, that alone I think brings him death. So once you start pairing him with something like Sniper, where it focuses the enemy opposite of him diagonally, so it hits that far backliner, then you start looking at maybe he is an S tier Immortal once you get all those circumstances laid out. But since we're talking about the Immortal, not the skills, and with his unique artifact, I think he is A. It's a close distinction, and there's still the argument that maybe Liz is S tier. But these are the tier lists, this being for with unique artifacts in them. If there are any other discrepancies, maybe it's Ashoka coming up to C, because he then gets defense breaks, so he does better with being a defense breaker for the fire team, so they can hit harder, but it's still only 2 targets. So this would be my range Immortal tier list for with unique artifacts and of course without unique artifacts. I think from here the next video is hopefully going to be on dragon skills. I think I'm going to start with water and work my way through the base elements before getting into the holy and shadow ones. We're going to go over each of the talents and how it changes the dragon skills, when it's good, when it's bad, and kind of just start to explain the dragon talents, because it doesn't feel like a lot of people have looked into this yet. So look forward to dragon talents as the next couple discussions we're going to go through. But for now, that's it for this one.